Hello, listeners. Welcome to another yet exciting episode of the LSS podcast. It's tea time, and yes, we are ready to serve it hot. But before then, I am Aziza Raji, and with me is my amazing G.
Hello, my name is Ogniyemi Simon.
And together we'll be your hosts on this episode. This episode is with the theme Campus Chronicles, Silence, Survival, and the Stories in Between.
This theme brings the conversation back home because behind every smiling student, there are struggles or survivals that we do not know about.
Yeah.
So, this theme actually resonates and relates with us students, but definitely we would not be doing this alone.
Yes, we wouldn't be doing this alone, as we have with us in the studio brilliant students from the University of Lagos, particularly students from the incomparable Faculty of Law who have demonstrated exceptional qualities in their academic and social life. So join me as I welcome Nelson Ewelum, Aliyah Rahman, and Adebote Oluwashemilore. So welcome you all. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. So, but let's start with a quick intro of yourselves. Just give us a brief intro for listeners who particularly might not know you. So let's start with you.
All right.
Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nelson Ewelum. I'm a 500 level law student of the University of Lagos. I'm also the president of the Insurance Club of the University of Lagos. I am a bold and daring law student, and I'm also a very ambitious person.
All right, thank you so much, Nelson, for joining us in the studio. Thank you. All right, Aliyah, let's have you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Aliyah Rahman, and I am a 400 level law student. I would say unfortunately, but we thank God. I also happen to be the vice president of the Law Student Society. And I don't know what other titles to say. I was Miss Law for like 2 consecutive years as well. And I think I can do anything I want to do. And
Beautiful.
I'm just that girl. Period.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Aliyah. Thanks for honoring our invitation. All right, Shemilore, let's have you.
Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me here once again. So, my name is Oluwashemilore Adebote. I'm a 400 level law student, the incorporated Faculty of Law, of course. I'm also the current HOC of the Justice Kayode Student Chamber, one of the 4 chambers in the faculty. Yeah, I am a passionate law student. I love what I do, and oftentimes I try to explore other areas aside from law. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So from their brief intro, I believe you can see something mighty from this amazing guest that we have on the studio today. So to kickstart with our first segment on this episode, we'll start with breaking the silence, and this particular segment will be focused on gender-based violence, creating awareness, dismantling stigma, and encouraging action. As for me, I believe I'm still in the spirit of the post-activism of the gender-based violence that has just the 16 days activism that has just been concluded, because if you still go to Love Garden, you still see everywhere painted orange. So yeah, my first question now would be directed to you, Madam VP. So we know that gender-based violence is often talked about in whispers. So what forms does it commonly take on campus that students might not even recognize it to be gender-based violence, otherwise known as GBV? Yeah.
Okay, I think that the first form that I would say is very, very, covert is, when you tell someone, no, I'm not interested in a relationship, and then they keep on persisting. And I think it's very, very different from being hard to get, which is completely valid. But when someone actually tells you, oh, no, I'm not interested in a relationship, that does not give you the go ahead to now
Persist.
Especially when your persistence obviously discomforts that person.
Yeah.
Right? Like, very, very important. And also, when you're having conversations with someone of the opposite gender, and then they're touching the back of your neck and they're touching the small of your waist, and you're wondering, Why? When did we get here?
That's also a violence.
Yes,
There
yes.
should be
it is.
consent, actually.
Yeah, it is actually something that I have experienced myself, and it makes me deeply uncomfortable. And that is just something that, you know, we should actually learn to voice out. It may seem small, but its connotations are very, very dangerous. And if you know you feel a certain type of way about it, you should speak out about
Right.
it.
So that means a no should be a no, and when
Yes.
that no, you're forcing yourself, and it becomes like a violence. All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So just a type.
Okay, so Shemilore, we know of various individuals who have faced gender-based violence and do not wish to speak out. Why do you think individuals do not want to speak out when they are violently abused?
Okay, so silence when it has to do with gender-based violence, I think it's not necessarily a sign of weakness or ignorance, because I mean in this day and time there is hardly any young person that would experience a gender-based violence and would not be aware of it, and there's hardly anyone who doesn't know they have to report. So oftentimes it's not from a place of weakness like I earlier mentioned, or a place of ignorance. It's mostly about fear, the fear of isolation. So now in a close-knit faculty like ours, like faculty of law, everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
Your classmates today, they are going to be your colleagues tomorrow. So in an instance where a law student experiences something like this, they begin to calculate the cost of them speaking up.
Okay.
And then there's this very universal question: if they are going to be believed, will they be victim blamed?
Yeah.
My reputation, and then like a profession like ours, no, you know, it is one profession that expects the highest level of ethical conduct. So oftentimes people don't want to be tagged as that person. When you report, I mean, you feel like you're speaking up and you expect to be getting some form of help. But if the institution, yes, let's put it that way, the institutional response, there is no a safe place to speak, no confidentiality whatsoever. So speaking up now feels like they are punishing themselves, because when they speak, there is a lot of these things are reviewed, because because oftentimes you've seen instances when someone speaks up and then it's all over the news. There is no form of confidentiality for them. So as students growing, particularly law students, I feel like reputation is one thing that we hold in high esteem. So like I mentioned, you don't want to be tagged as that person. People are seeing you. Sometimes people are like, pitying you, but then the silent whisper, some people are judging you silently.
Yeah.
What was she wearing? Something like that. And fear of being judged, fear of the social consequences and everything. So I think that's one reason why a lot of people would prefer to choose silence. Thank you.
I
Beautifully
think that
said.
was very relatable,
Actually.
because that aspect of people keeping silent, because what would the society say?
In fact, individuals around, like if you speak out, individuals around might look at you condescendingly or might want to like oppress you. So I think that's why most people do not actually want to speak out.
Yeah, the society is too judgmental. Right, so thank you so much for that. So Nelson, we've heard Aliyah talk about forms of gender-based violence, and we've had Shemilore talk about the fact that fear is particularly one of the reasons that make people to keep silent when they experience gender-based violence. So now I want you to tell us, what are those practical steps that you think that the faculty, the students' bodies and individuals generally can take to make the campus a safer environment for students with respect to this GBV?
All right, so the adequate steps I feel like the faculty could take, like Shemilore mentioned, I feel like if there could be maybe a form of like an anonymous method of communication, that would make sense. Because I mean, you don't like take for instance gender-based violence doesn't have to do with whether it's only a woman. I mean, like boys too. Guys also get like violence, maybe approaches from women or even their fellow men.
Yeah.
So yes. So I feel like maybe an anonymous form where people if there's like a body, maybe it's somebody that would handle that aspect. I mean, the NSS is already occupied with a lot of things, or maybe it could fall under the welfare secretary or something. So if you just put out like a feedback form that this day, like these days of the week, send in your reports. Are you being harassed? Are you being approached
I think it's a good thing if the welfare
handle
I
that.
think
Yeah,
that's-
the welfare department really can.
That brings confidentiality. actually.
Yes, and then people would have this form of safe space. Since
Yes,
it's a form
yes,
of, yeah, thank you
actually.
so much for
Well,
that.
I'm sorry, just to add to what he said. So UNILAG currently has the Safeguarding Center, and that is basically what they exist for. So of course they're still in their formative stages. I think they just got set up last year, or I really don't know, but this is something that they are actually working. Yes, they're working hard on. And of course, we have one of our own spearheading. She's the director of the Safeguarding Center, Dr. Folabi Akiode. And rest assured, she is definitely not going to allow home to suffer when it comes to GBV. So
I really hope our listeners and viewers can take note of this, the UNILAG Safeguarding Center for your safe space. I believe that should be a safe space. So with that, we come to an end of the first segment.
So very quickly, let's dabble into student leadership. So Nelson, I know you as a fashion icon. I know you as the former HOC for the Justice Coyote Esho Student Chamber. But we have a lot of students that feel or have the notion that student leadership or being in leadership positions are not necessary. What do you think can be the mind shifts, or what do you think, what mindset shifts could they have that could like change this whole notion that students have basically?
Alright, so I feel like basically the main issue like people feeling that, oh, I'm not supposed to be like leadership isn't meant for me. I think it's called the great man myth. Like people are born leaders. But that's just like a concept, it's just a feeling. I mean, you yourself, you can decide that, oh, I am him. When it's popular Gen Z, I am him. So like it's not just like leadership isn't, I feel like it's a behavior, it's not a role. It's something that you have to like take up by yourself. I mean, I myself, when I entered, I've never held any position like in secondary school or primary school. But like when I entered UNILAG, I think my first position was in year 3 when I was like PRO of just started there shop before I did HOC. And I did deputy director of programs for insurance blog before I became the president of the insurance blog. So like it's something that you have to start from yourself. You have to embody it that oh, I can lead. I mean, you can't say, oh, I'm supposed, like leaders are born. Like, you have to start from somewhere. Even if people are born leaders, like they started from somewhere. Like it's already instilled from them, like if that's what you feel. So you get, so like I feel like everybody has to first raise that mindset that I can lead, because you literally need to start. There has to be a beginning to be an end. So you need to start from like somewhere and take up that position. Like even if it means you learn on
leadership can also be learned. I mean, there are leadership seminars everywhere. Like so,
like you can learn on the job.
Yeah.
You can make mistakes. I have never done a PR like work before. My position of public relations officer. Yes, I made mistakes. I learned my mistakes before I went on to be the head of the chamber. So like
grew from those mistakes.
Exactly. You need to fall to rise. You can't rise if you not fall.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So we need to fall to rise.
Words of Nelson Ewelum.
Words of Nelson Ewelum. So now my next question is going to Shemilore, and it's going to be more of building on what Nelson has said. So Nelson said something that leadership should be a behavior that we should embody. So now I want to ask you, what skills or habits would you tell students to start to develop right now in preparation to serve ahead, or in preparation to take up a leadership role in future?
Okay, so just like Nelson said, there are no born leaders. Like even some people might have the characteristic, but some people naturally they just have this aura with them. Wherever they have, they like to take the initiative to do things. So some people have it to them as a characteristic, but then it is something you can also develop. And like I always tell people, leadership is not just about the title. I mean, every lies they heard, I always correct me if I said that right. So like it has to be something you are passionate about. You don't go into leadership position because you want it, because of the title, because it is fancy, you're going to be nice on your CV. You really have to be passionate about it, you want to do it. So now to the skills, I mean, you have to be self-aware. Like you have to be self-aware, know what you can do. Like know your strengths, know your weakness. Am I very good in this aspect? If you want to be, like I said, don't just take it for the title. Go for something you're passionate about. If you don't even know that you're interested in PR stuff or probably you do well as a welfare secretary, and then you're running for the position of probably a social circle, then you're going to definitely get burnt out. You will get overwhelmed, and then that's very important. You have to know your limits so you don't push yourself. As someone who gets if you're someone the person that gets overwhelmed easily or you get overstimulated easily, I don't think you'll be able to do very, very well in some positions. I mean, some are still very okay for you to work in if you have probably like someone above you that can supervise. But then imagine being at the apex authority and this is you're someone that you get overstimulated or overwhelmed. That can pose as a problem. So one of the first skills to learn is to be self-aware, know your strengths, know how well you can work. And then another thing is I think communication. So before you attempt to even take up any leadership role, your communication skills have to be very, very top notch. And it goes beyond just speaking, it goes to listening to people. Because oftentimes people would want a leader that would solve their problem. I mean to use the word. Followers often like problem solvers. During elections or any probably campaign season, you're saying them, will you do this? Will you do that? So just learn to listen to people, position yourself as a problem solver, something like that. And then you can also start small because you don't wake up one day and say you want to be a leader, especially in a faculty like this. You don't start your campaign a week to elections and expect people to vote for you, especially if you're someone that you don't have a good relationship with anybody in the faculty. You get so you have to be consistent. Yes, start small. It starts from things like class projects, group projects, volunteer in positions, volunteer for events. Just take up little roles because, like I said earlier, if you're not very sure of what you can do, you're going to have issues when you get to that position. So it is important that you get familiar with little tasks like that. So from taking up group projects, volunteering to be the group leader and stuff like that, so you're getting familiar with what the leadership role really entails. So I think that sums it up for me.
Thank you. So firstly, self-awareness, then effective communication, and it's not just about talking, it's also about listening. And then lastly, we have our last point was starting small, right? So no matter how small, just take up a leadership position regardless of the setting or something, just do something. All right, so Fisaya, let's have you.
So I think one issue that we students have with leadership positions is how we can juggle or balance it with academics. I, for one, I'm in my 200 level now, and I'm in the beautiful Justice Okuta student chambers. So I actually wanted to run for a post in year one, but then I looked at my CGPA. I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, let me try and at least build to do this. Aliyah, how do you think you could juggle leadership positions with academics? Because I know you are the current vice president of the Law Student Society. You've held numerous positions. So tell us, how do you do it, Aliyah?
I can't exactly tell you how I do it. I can tell you what not to do.
Oh, okay.
But I think first and foremost, I would like to preface whatever I'm about to say with, understanding your own peculiar reality. So you're a law student. Law is a very, very jealous course. Every course that we're doing, at least from 200 level and above, there are 4 units. And that means like a B is very bad. Right, like
not to talk of a C.
And you see things.
That's hell.
Honestly,
you see things.
Honestly, there was one result I got back last semester, and I saw that result. And if I promise you, if there was a body of water close to where I was, I would have jumped. I'm not even joking. That was the first time I ever had like a suicidal thought. It was that bad. Nobody should ask me what I got, by the way. But you need to understand your reality. You need to reevaluate your priorities. It's very, very important. See, there are some people that are in this school just to gather experience. Yes, they're going to get a certificate out of it, but that's not the forefront. Yeah, they're going to get an LLB, but they're fine with the 2-1, they're fine with the 2-2, honestly. But you need to understand what your own goal is first and foremost, right? And based on reevaluating your priorities, you now need to understand, okay, what are the things I'm going to do that will get me there? Okay, so you may have aspirations of being an all-rounder student. You want to finish with the first class degree. You want to have 1 or 2 extracurricular experiences under your belt, and you also want to have time to go for parties and everything.
Yeah.
Right. But you must
beauty.
but you must understand that each of these things have their seasons, and each of these things would suffer for the other in different seasons. That's a very bitter truth that I have had to swallow, right? So I've had would I say very eventful run in my 6 years in this faculty.
Ooh.
And I have
Awesome.
Strike.
I had to do that one.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I'm technically in my 400 level now, and I know that I was involved in a lot of extracurriculars right from my 100 level, right? And I think a very bitter reality that I was still speaking about is knowing that each and every single thing that you are involved in has a particular season. Like for instance, now let's use last semester. That was 300 level second semester. I was a board of director for the Rotary Club of Lagos. I was a publicity chair. I was a legalities manager for ISEC in Lagos as well, and also head of internal audit for ISEC in Lagos. I was also, I think, doing 1 or 2 design related work because I was a brand designer, and simultaneously I was running something under Miss Law, and also I was campaigning
for election. Because I know that election period is also towards exam period.
Exactly. That was where I'm going to. Honestly, first and foremost, you notice I am not in some of these capacities that I mentioned before. Oh, I also forgot to mention that I was the PRO2 for the Multi Society, and I was the editor-in-chief of the Moot Handbook, right? So these were
CV.
I can't even count again. I've lost count.
But it was very, very crazy. I can't even lie. It was very, very crazy. And this was 300 level second semester. 300 level. It was everything they warned me about and more. So it was, it was really a lot. At certain times, I had to just question myself and question motivations. I would have gone through the reasons why I was doing some of these things one by one, but I can just encapsulate it with what I'm about to say next. So if you notice now, as vice president of the Law Student Society, I'm not holding a leadership position within the faculty anymore, and that is honestly because I know my bandwidth. I know that these are certain things that I have achieved in certain organizations, and I have gotten that, and that is with me. I don't need to still occupy those spaces to still get value, right? So you need to know when to come in and when to leave. Don't be afraid to explore. I promise you, especially people within the faculty. You're in the incomparable faculty of law.
Yeah.
So many. I promise you, you have so many opportunities, and you're now in the University of First Choice again. God, there are people praying. Yes,
To
there are
be
people
in the
praying to be in
University
your
of Lagos,
shoes.
to be very honest.
You wake up and they're doing one seminar, they're doing one event, they're doing one book camp. There are just so many opportunities, but then what comes with these opportunities that you need to understand that you cannot have it all. Period. Like Chimere said, you have to filter the ones you want. You need to understand. Remember that I started this answer by saying you need to know what your goals are. You need to understand. Okay, for instance, now let's say I'm interested in compliance. I'm interested in regulatory frameworks. I know that I want to be a part of the investment society, or if I'm going to be a part of a shared organization like ISEC in Lagos, I want to be in a functional area like finance and legalities. That is tailored towards what I want to do. Do you understand? And that is manageable. But with people that have different interests, I encourage you to explore, but at the same time, you need to explore with intentionality. When you know that this is not serving you anymore, when you know that you're not really feeling, you're not interested in what you thought this was going to be, don't be afraid to take a step back, because you need to know when to give up. I think that's a superpower in itself. So you need to understand that different seasons, like for instance, now when I was PRO2 for the Maritime Forum, we had the Taiwan Falabi Annual Maritime Conference. It's like our flagship event. During that, I think 2 weeks to the event, I promise you I didn't pick up a single book, and I don't want to say it should. Honestly, like that period, it was heavy, right? Because it was a high-stake event, and as an executive of the Maritime Forum, you know that you needed to just be on guard. You needed to do a lot of running around. So you know that that was just for a particular season. You need to understand. And a hack that I'll give you, if you can preempt some of these intensive seasons in your extracurricular activities, start reading early. Start reading from during the holidays. Listen in class, go to class. I promise you, go to class. Even though you say you don't understand what is going on, you would actually be surprised that you'd have residual knowledge of some of the things that these lecturers are saying. Like, going to class, it's a really how will I call it? It's an underrated hack. Go to class. What?
Confidence booster.
Yes, it's a confidence booster, honestly.
What if you go to class and you don't seem to understand what you're trying to say?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm currently in that situation right now, honestly. But I think it's very important to still go to try to listen. At least if you go to class and you know that all we were talking about was just the new tax act. At least you know that. Even though you don't know what they are doing,
but you know that there's a new tax act.
Exactly. So I promise you, the residual knowledge actually goes a long way. And there are so many times when you've already you finished the whole course outline, and when you get to the exam hall, all you can just remember is Professor Sani saying new tax act.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
that kind of knowledge actually sticks. So you need to actually know how to plan around whatever extracurriculars you want to, go into. Read early, read on time, go for classes. I promise you. And please read consistently. Try to read like at least 1 hour, 2 hours every day. I wish I'm taking this advice I'm giving you, but I
swear I take it true. That consistently.
I promise you, consistency works wonders. I can't even lie. It's better than just doing like a 7-hour marathon before your exams. You don't retain as much.
Actually.
So like consistently reading early, going for class. These are things that I would heavily advise you to do, and to also be intentional about what you dabble into, because you have a finite amount of time. Time is something that I think is the easiest resource to waste. Okay. So you need to be very, very definite about what you're endeavoring to go into. Does it align with my interests? Am I interested in this? Do I see myself in this space in the next 4 to 5 years? These are questions you need to ask yourself. So yeah, I think those are some of the points.
You said a whole lot.
Man, I learned. I can't even lie. I learned. So.
I also hope our
but yeah, it's all encompassing.
Yeah, definitely. You've really touched everything. So now moving on to the next segment. Let me first But before we start, let me ask you, starting from my co-host, Fisayo, did you ballot? Did you get a bed space?
Me, I got to.
How about you, Shimura? Did you get a bed space?
I did not.
Oh my God. How many rejection mail did you get?
2. Why did I get 2 messages? The first one was wrong.
You're going to be very annoying. How about you, Aliyah?
I got 2 rejection mails as well. They were like, nothing for you here.
Oh my
I'm
God.
so sorry.
Take out 2 of my guests. I can't believe. How about you, please just
Me.
turn the tables around, please.
Quota exceeded twice.
Oh my God! So
I even
literally, none
We are
of our
lucky in our
guests
family.
got a bed space. Although I actually got a bed space, but I felt like they checked history, because since year 1, I'd never been fortunate to get a bed space.
You're a mutator.
What?
You're a mutator.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I know some people that have graduated without getting bed space.
Personally, so I have friends that up to year 3, none of them still have gotten it. And it's so bad when you you are 2 friends, 2 close friends, and then you're banking that one person should get a bed space, and then both of you just get a breakfast.
Hot breakfast.
Like, it's really hot. That morning, in class, everybody was kind of, even when the rejection mail, the attention was sort of divided, and it's a whole lot. Unilag student. So, and that's because it's issues that really affect us badly, and we know that no bed, no rest, because not everybody live within the school area. So now my first question to Aliyah, Madam VP. Yeah, so I want you to take it from the student's perspective. How has the recent hostel balloting affected students, especially those who genuinely rely on accommodation on campus?
I think it has affected students in a number of ways. Mentally, physically, financially. The LYS go on and on. And I, for one, I can speak on this perspective because I mean I was affected. Like, Madam VP did not get best.
Oh my God, yes.
But
I want to say that it's quite don't they know you are the VP of the whole LSS?
I think I'll go do that.
You need
now.
to sue them.
I'm not suing anybody. But honestly, I think it's just a very sad situation because at the end of the day, I've been privileged to have conversations with some of these policymakers, some of like our university administrators. Their hands are tied as well to a certain degree. It's just, we have more students than we have the accommodation for. That's just the harsh reality. And I think it's not just something that's peculiar to University of Lagos. That is how Lagos is. If you notice, we are just way more in terms of population than the resources that are available to us. So I think that is one bitter truth that we'll just have to just swallow and digest. But that does not erase the fact that it is still a problem. It is still a very, very big problem that affects a good number of us. I have been able to have conversations with people that are coming all the way from Abuja, that are coming from, I'm trying to not mention random states because somebody will come and ask me, who is the person that you say is coming from this state? But I know some people are coming from Ebonyi State, Niger State, Abuja, and these are states that are of far proximity. My class rep, he commutes all the way from Ogun State to school every day because of classes. And
imagine, I believe that there are some places within Lagos itself that it's quite, even if it's not far, but Lagos traffic on its own is a bit tiring.
I was even coming to that. So I am lucky and privileged enough to live in Lagos at this moment, right? But it doesn't erase the fact that commuting takes so much from me, like mentally, it takes from me financially, because commuting now takes, it costs an arm and a leg. It's so crazy. Like, you'll be thinking that 500 naira here, 700 naira here. When you multiply that 5 times, it really does add up.
Yeah, it does.
Going and coming back, it really does add up. So financially, it is a lot. And then I, for one, on an average, I spend like 3 hours in transit, like together, like coming to school. On a good day, there's no traffic. I get to school. The journey that will take me from my house to school takes me about an hour, and that's like on a good day. Now imagine in recent times when there has been insane traffic. I'll get to school, I'll be so tired, I'll be so irritated as well, because I just spent a bunch of my time being squeezed with sweaty strangers, and I'm like, God, I beg, I have missed 15 minutes of my tax law class, and I'm just like, please, what is going on?
New tax act.
So it's just very, very how would I call it, destabilizing. Because you're not in the best state of mind.
Because even in terms of productivity, because I have friends that they might decide not to come to school like for twice a week because they feel like by the time they go and come, they wouldn't even have the strength to read when they return home, because they'll be so worked out. So I think the aspect of productivity too, the issue is very important.
Like, you don't even get to read when you get home. Like me, I, for one, I don't get to read when I get to my house, right? It's very, very sad. Yes, and the only feasible time that I get to read is during the weekends, and the weekend is just like a small pocket of time compared to like the rest of the week, and because of that I'm already behind, and then I'm getting to class, I'm not even in the best state of mind to even assimilate what is what the lecturer is taking, what the lecturer is trying to teach us. So I just think it really affects students a lot, and mentally it's really, really destabilizing. And then when you now think about the academic impact, it compounds, and then you're forced to realize that if you want to actually do like deep studying, it's going to be towards when we have tests and exams, which is already putting you at a big disadvantage.
Too late.
Whether you like it or not. And then
overnight.
The overnight.
Bro, back to back overnight. I've learned my lesson.
I don't preach overnight, but if you see me in overnight, don't ask me any questions. So it's just it's just really, really, it's just a lot. It affects students a lot, honestly. and it's something that I know that the school management is working hard on. But at the same time, I would also like implore us as well to also look at ways that we can contribute to helping with this, crisis, this housing crisis. And we've seen the way we've kind of pivoted to having some lectures online. I think that is something that also helps as well. So we're still trying to think of creative ways to just work around this pandemic of housing.
Really a pandemic.
Yeah, it's a
must
pandemic.
say.
And please, if you see any lack students coming from home, and the person is a law student,
Hug them.
just hug them and give them
Give them money.
Yeah,
We are trying.
5 million naira, not dollars. Just
Did you hear
naira.
that?
Just naira.
All right.
Just naira.
First, let's have you.
So, very quickly, Nelson, what challenges do you think students like you, students that didn't get bed space?
It's so bad that none of our guests actually got.
I got, so I don't think we are in the same shoes. What challenges do you think students like you face that the school community overlooks? What challenges do you think students face?
Students like me.
Students that didn't get bed space.
Very good. I like that umbrella. So, first, let me give you an example of what happened to me last week. I was robbed.
My God.
I was robbed at Relay on my way back. Because I had a class that finished by 5. So,
It's a big man. It's a big man. Sorry.
Right. Oh, really? Ron, what is 5 weeks? So, well, I think I left school late that day around 6. So, I feel like when I got to doing, maybe I just came down from the bus, 4 hard bureaus, wow. I was robbed at 9 points, not 1 point. They cleared my accounts and all. And good to funny information here.
I'm so sorry.
Alright, thank you. I can't laugh like that's gone. I know that I'm alive. So I feel
I think that's most important.
safety first. At least consider the students that people are coming from. Like Aliyah said, you can make the classes online. Now we resume. I think we resumed. The school resumed 27th. Then I think classes started 10th or 13th of November. So you had not open. Hostels were not open. Or school had resumed. It would not make sense. People coming from home. I think we didn't have any place to stay at home. I feel like that was the thing that
I honestly don't even understand the whole thought process behind that. Because
at some point I was confused because the lecturers will talk about the fact that the school calendar had started and they have no option than to teach. And then DSA on his own keeps reminding us too that the calendar has started, but we didn't have updates. It was so long before we could get the updates on the balloting dates and everything. And it was some of postponement and I don't know. It was.
So please help us in any way you can. Let us stay in hostels to avoid these various challenges.
All right. So for the last question on this segment, that's for you, Shemi Lore. So it's going to be you that will do a form of conclusion for us. So what are those improvements that you feel that can be implemented in the balloting system to make it a stress-free and a fair one?
Okay, so the two speakers, they've done justice to explaining the problems that this no accommodation issue poses to students and the problems that it poses. So one of the things that can be done, personally, I'm not very comfortable with the idea of balloting and waiting hours or even days to get a confirmation. So the process can be very, very transparent. Oftentimes, I ask, after balloting processes, this is my 3rd time balloting or 4th time. So I ask people, oh, did you get? And this very recent one, I think I asked close to 10 to 15 people in a day. And I could barely get 3 people that said they got. So I get asking around, who did they give hostel to? Who did they? And every time I've had conversations with people that hostels and I'm hearing things like, oh, there's still space in my hostel. Oh, and some rooms are still vacant. So if the process could be more transparent, okay, for instance, let's say this is Moremi, or you're seeing it on the portal, this is the number of rooms there, these are the available bed spaces. Everyone goes there to pick, and they are getting just if you're doing any first come first serve basis, that would make
That's actually
so when you
beautiful.
go there, you pick, you get it immediately. You're not waiting for hours to still get quota exceeded. I mean, I'm
Twice.
seeing
Twice.
I'm seeing that okay, Moremi has,
Breakfast.
let's just say Moremi has, or let's say 2,000 bed space, and okay, I'm ready to, it has reduced to 500. Oh, let me still pick. So I'm seeing how the spaces are going, and even because I've noticed that sometimes they do this reservation for the 100 level and D student because they don't get to ballot at the same time with us. So that's understandable. Let us know the amount of bed spaces you are reserving for them. Let us know the number that is available to students. So if the process is very, very transparent, students know what they are getting into. That I didn't get filled because by the time I got to the portal, I was already all the bed spaces were filled. People had already ticked it. So that's not like a very, very good news. Not like you pick and then you just apply, or what's that new word you are looking for it? You apply and you're waiting for mails. You're waiting hours. Sometimes it even take days before you get the mail, and even when you get the mail, it's still quota X. I'm still very, very
sorry about
the only
that.
time I got hostel was when I think I came in as a DE fresher and they allowed us to ballot in January. That's the only time I got space. So if we had a more transparent system, just like we do for courses, I mean, when you're registering courses, you would see that you pick. When you pick, you're seeing the number of spaces that are left, and people the number of people that have picked bed spaces in this hostel. So it is easier that way, and then that the entire process is transparent. People know why they didn't get hostel because it's actually filled up. So then one other thing is, I think the would I say the digital system, or we know the network issues when it comes to ballots. I have friends that they used to meet their family members or friends abroad to help them ballot because of very good network. So I don't know, I think this is from CITS, because whenever it's time for balloting, all the portal is crashing.
And I think they can actually do better
it
with
is
the
something they
website.
can do over time. This issue is a persistent one. It is not happening for the first time. Every single time balloting happens, the same problem resurfaces. So I feel like it is something they can get better with. But Leah mentioned the ends of the top officials are tight, but I think that this is an aspect they can also look into. Why will the portal crash every time students are balloting? It is not a first time, a second time issue, it is a recurring issue. So I feel like there's something that can be done in that regard. So one other thing, I think there's one thing I would commend UNILAG for, from what I'm aware of, people living with disabilities, I think they have special hostels for them, because that's going to be a very not so nice thing if, because I'm aware of some people with eye defects that they have special hostels. So that's a very good way to help students as well. And then lastly, I think Aliyah or Nelson mentioned that we could have classes online. So in instances like this, where we have people who are living in very, very far places, different faculties can come together and have hybrid lectures. I mean, this semester I've even seen that lecturers are taking hybrid lectures very seriously. The last insurance class I attended yesterday, it was hybrid.
Okay.
Because I think yesterday was matriculation, so the school was blocked. Transportation was, I think from Yaba, someone said they didn't even get bus. They had to walk all the way from Ojuelegba. And when they got to Yaba, there was no bus, so they had to return home. So the lecturers understood the fact he was in class. He sent the Zoom link to the group chat and student joined. So these are ways that the school, the institution can make it easier for students when it has to do with these accommodation issues. Thank you.
Right, so thank you so much. I particularly love the aspect that you talked about transparency, because Aliyah has made us know that the hands of the people in the authority, it's really tied. We cannot dispute the fact that the bed spaces that we have available, it is limited to the number of students. But I feel that if we can implement a transparent system where students actually see that this is how it is going and this is how it is being allocated, it would release the stress of the student, and they would feel this form of partial satisfaction that at least I can see what is happening. And I don't know, there's just this way that things can balance and reduce a little.
And then one other thing I think is the aspect of information. So like you mentioned, the prolonged silence from UNILAG is a very, very bad thing. There is no information. Everybody's just moving with the flow. And then I just call it anyhow.
I don't know. I particularly thought it was bad this semester.
Yeah, it was very, very bad.
Because we were clueless.
I mean, I think it's very, very important to inform students. People can resume, but there's no hostel. No, but the silence, that there's nothing you can come and do to me. I mean, there's nothing you can do, but just please inform us. Because I think the silence is even what builds the anger and then the frustration, because you don't know. like at the
Just
first
make
few weeks
policies
of
and you won't tell us.
exactly the first few weeks of resumption, people are saying your school has resumed. Oh, your school has resumed because your school has resumed, and then we come to class, the lecturers are here. Yeah, we have resumed, but then there's no. I mean, we didn't pay school fees on time, if you remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
The portal was not open on time, but classes started. So I think information they should they should inform students early and like clearly, so students know exactly what it is they are getting into. So if something is not right, so they know, okay, this is why this is like this. You get, and then we're not just silent and waiting for answers from the
We
head.
can remember when we talked about leadership qualities in our previous segment. We talked about communication, and there are leaders, and they owe us that
Speak
duty
to
to
us,
communicate and let
communicate
us
with us.
know what is going on. All right, so I think that would be the
So
end.
one thing
of
you
this
said
segment.
that stood out for me was the portal.
Okay.
Because what do you mean we are paying 15k for portal maintenance and the portal is crashing every single time? But very quickly, let's just dabble into the side hustles we students have to face or carry on. So, Shemilore, do you think, or what do you think about the side hustles that students take? Do you think students could actually balance side hustles with academics? Do you think we should take on side hustles?
Yeah.
Okay, so this question is a very tricky one, and it goes back to what you just said about paying 15k for portal. So I'm very sure that everyone we know that when we're about to resume the session, the school fee was hiked again. When I got into Unilag, what I paid first is different from what I paid in my second year. It keeps adding up every time, and I know quite a number of my classmates that are paying their school fees themselves. Like there is no support from home and no family support whatsoever. A number of us are very privileged. I mean, I'm grateful to God for that opportunity. But when I see these people, it's very, very sad knowing that the system is not even in their favor anyway. So we have a lot of, Faculty of Law, it boasts of a whole lot of entrepreneurs, and while I support it a whole lot, because aside from just a means of survival, now it's a form of sustainability. Sustain yourself as an entrepreneur. I think the financial burden on the home, on your sponsors would be reduced a bit, and for those that are sponsoring themselves, I feel like that's their entire, that's like everything to them, because they have to do that job, they have to work to be able to fend for themselves, pay their fees, and then afford their basic needs. But then there's a thing with if as much as you can, like if it is very comfortable for you, you can have a side hustle. I'm a very lazy person. Let me just say that, because in my second year, I started a pastry business, but it went on for I think 6 months. It wasn't even up to 6 months, but I did it for a while. Then I had to stop, and it was from a place of, Temilore, you're not paying your fees. I don't know. I don't want to sound like that, but it's more like it was beginning to affect my academics.
Okay.
So every week, because it was supposed to be like a weekend stuff. So in the course of the week, I'm trying to get customers on a pre-order basis. So I am literally worked up throughout that week. I'm even in class. I'm thinking about, has anybody plays another for this weekend? So it kind of like became so much stretch. And then I stay in an hostel. It's not very convenient running a food business in a shared apartment, in a shared kitchen. So that's why I had to put a pause on it. But if you're a student and you are in a very comfortable place, it doesn't have to be food business. I know some students are into clothing items, things that you can keep in your rooms that don't require you to cook or something. That's a very good one to do. So you can do that. But if you begin to realize that it is beginning to clash with your academics and what you are in Unilag for, then you might have to take a pause. And because I had the opportunity of even listening to one of the lecturers very recently, and she said something about this side hustle with students. So it is important. It builds some form of independent skills in you. Like it prepares you for the outside world. But then it's also very important that we realize why we are here. This law profession is a very competitive one.
That's our topmost priority.
So it is going to be very nice if we prioritize the law as well. So she said something about there are some students that she knows that if they didn't have, if they didn't go into their businesses and all of that, they could have made better grades. Do you get? So there is no way, if you are going into a business, I don't believe you should go into a business with half mind, and that's why I had to put a pause on mine.
Yes.
You don't have to, you have to give it your all, because it is as important as your education. So if you're not able to strike a balance, then I believe you should probably take a pause with the business, and then you can start subsequently when you're done and all of that. So you shouldn't be like, it shouldn't be something that affects one another. So basically, I think I'm just going to wrap it up by saying balance is key.
All right.
Learning to balance is very, very important. Thank
Right,
you.
so the most important thing as a student is to strike the balance. So moving on to our next question. So I'm glad, I need to acknowledge the fact that I'm glad that everyone here are law students. And as Aliyah mentioned earlier, that law is a very jealous course. So Nelson, I want you to tell us, what are those realistic side hustles that law students can explore without jeopardizing their academics? So just briefly.
Right, I'll speak for myself. I don't really know, everyone is like different. So, what I would advise sorry. I feel like you can go into content creation / brand influencing. That's very, very like, simple, relatable. Like, I just post content. I mean, I know content creators in the faculty mess to
We even have one sitting.
Yeah, I myself.
I'm aspiring content creator.
Right, so like, and I've bagged like, I think 2 deals, like one with Love and Treats from this faculty, a cake store. I also have like one with, like a new restaurant that opened up that reached out to me, and they would like and they will handle my logistics, like payment and all, like we're still working on that. So like, there are other, like, there are chill and like easy things for you to just do as a law student. Like I said,
Content creation.
Put your phone, a tripod. If you don't have a tripod, use that sticky stuff at the back of your phone, and you are good to go.
All right, I think this
So,
that works.
Aliyah, what advice do you think you could give to students who wants to start a side hustle but feels overwhelmed? Like, give this advice like you are giving it to me, because I personally want to start a side hustle, but I'm scared because I'm like, academics, law, and side hustle. Can
The
I
law.
balance it? So what advice can you give me?
I think first and foremost, I would have to ask what side hustle, because
Okay,
it's heavily
so I think
dependent.
this would help me advertise my business. So I sell crop shirts. So
Cropped shirts.
crop shirts, yes, like a clothing brand. Let's put it like
Is it
that
crop?
for guys.
Like
I'm wearing my products. Don't worry.
Oh,
Can I
yeah.
see?
I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
Thank you. So clothing brands, pastry, any side hustle. Basically, what advice could you give to students that have side hustles in mind?
Okay, so I think for, the reason why I asked that is to understand whether you are offering a service or whether you're offering a product. I think you need to know that demarcation is very, very important,
Okay.
right? So now I'm going to go into like offering a product, right? Because I mean, that's like pastries, selling cropped shirts, which is very innovative, by the way.
Okay.
So I think you need to understand how much work goes into logistics.
Okay.
So your procurement, how much work will it go into it? Are you putting anything on it, like branding? Are you adding
Okay.
labels? So that's part of like the logistics chain that you have to look at as well. Do you physically have to go to the market to get it, or is it something that can be drop shipped to you, to your doorstep? That's
Okay.
something you need to look at as well. You also need to understand if you're going to be the sole person handling your payments and taking of orders. So these are things that will take your time, and you need to understand that these things taking your time, one would have to give. Is it something that you can compartmentalize and be like, okay, just like Shimori mentioned, you're taking orders throughout the week, and then during the weekends you fulfill the orders. That's when you're now like, okay, putting receipts, packaging them, sending them up to dispatch
Okay.
riders. So you need to like understand that your business have these core activities attached to them, and you need to understand whether these activities can be moved around to accommodate the course that you are studying. Okay, I think a number of entrepreneurs have been able to like navigate that.
Yes.
Law students,
Yeah.
they do a lot. They amaze
We
me.
definitely have lots. lots
So
of
I think one
entrepreneurs,
important
actually.
thing that she's mentioned is that understanding is
Yeah,
key,
you
right?
need to understand.
So I think at this juncture we should begin to call it a day.
Yeah.
I must say that it's been an amazing conversation so far, and it just feels like we should continue to the day.
Is it about the old gender-based violence part?
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I learned that no means no, and consent should be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
I also learned about transparency. Please, our authorities, transparency should be put into our bed space.
Yes.
So yes, we
And
learned a lot.
students also who want to take up leadership positions should also note that, as we mentioned earlier, effective communication, self-awareness, and other little volunteers that you do in your immediate community is very much important. So to our amazing guest, thank you so much for honoring our invitation. It's been an amazing session with you so far. And to our listeners and viewers, you guys are the real MVPs.
But
yeah, thank you so much for...
Sorry, like do they have any remark for us, like, or to the listeners on the various segments we had today? Do you have any remark or anything to say, like, to just like close it?
Okay, I would start by commending you all. I mean, you guys were amazing hosts. I must say, you guys were very amazing, and thank you for this and for putting this together, because these conversations are at the heart of every student, like what's happening currently. And as student, I think it's very important. It cuts across every single aspect that students are going to encounter at one point or the other. So I just want to say one thing regarding the gender-based violence, because that's something very passionate that I hold. That's something I'm very passionate about, because I'm passionate about women and females' rights. So one thing I mentioned in my first speech was that there has to be a very good system in place. I think one of the speakers mentioned it, a confident, an anonymous initiative, something like that, to ensure that there's a safe space for victims to speak. Because when victims realize that them speaking up would expose them, silence begins to feel like a very, very safe option. I think the topic was why do victims choose silence over speaking? So when they know that they're going to be exposed and not protected, they tend to choose silence. So if you could have better institutions in place for that, to make sure that the reporting is more confidential, I feel like that would go a very long way. And to anyone, student that might be going through any form of gender-based violence, please speak up. Please speak up. And then the Center for Safeguarding Unilag, when we have the Human Rights Clinic in our faculty, please speak up. There is always someone willing to listen to you.
I think we need to create more awareness on the institution you mentioned. Sorry, say it again. Okay, so Safeguarding Center, we have that in Unilag. So if you have issues or you want to like speak up, that's a very beautiful place for you to go to.
Right, so let's just make it brief.
Yeah.
It's just going to be like a key takeaway for the listeners.
Okay, so I don't think I'm going to give a takeaway, right? I'm going to just add on to something that all of my shalaye since Sha. So Fisayo mentioned something about wanting to take up a leadership role, but then he looked at his CGPA and he was scared. And I think that is very, very wise, but at the same time, you would never get this opportunity again. I really you would never get to experience being a law student in the incomparable faculty of law in 2025 ever again. Like, so you need to actually understand that you only live once. Like, I don't want to say YOLO because this is
YOLO actually.
But you actually only live once. If you think that you really want to do something, I remember that I'm going to tie it back to like what I said earlier. You need to understand what is your motivation for doing this thing. Like, you need to ascertain that, is it important? Is this thing very, very important to me? Is this something that I'm going to be gaining a lot from in terms of value? You need to understand. You need all of that foundational kind of introspection. It needs to be already on ground before you now start making any decisive step. So if you have taken that and you're just still afraid, you're like, what would I do? What if I fail? And all the people that are doing 5 extracurriculars and they're still doing academics, they don't have 5 heads. They learned to test their resilience. They learned to stretch themselves. And the only way you can stretch is if you put yourself in challenging environments. So you need to do it afraid.
Do it afraid.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's just all I'm going to say.
Now let's have you,
Beautifully said.
Nelson.
Keep on.
Sorry. The only thing I have to say is God factor.
Brilliant.
Pray to God. Because life is beyond physical. So just pray to God. Yes.
All right, God factor, pray to God. So again, I can't count how many times I've said thank you, and I'll keep saying thank you. So
welcome.
thank you so much for joining us in the studio for this conversation, and we hope to receive you sometime again in future. And to our listeners, as I've said, you guys are the real MVPs. Thank you so much for staying with us this far, and do not forget to follow LSS Unilag across all social media platforms.
If you don't follow,
If you don't follow us on Instagram, X, and Spotify, everywhere you see LSS Unilag, just follow us, and to also catch up on more exciting future episode of the podcast and also the previous episodes. So thank you so much for staying with us.
I'm so sorry.
And
can I just add one thing? I just want to say a big thank you to the LSS. And most especially,
thank you to our social sex for putting this up.
Yes.
Chris.
All right, so thank you so much, everybody.
LSS
Podcast. See you there.